So here's an idea we had today, Pac-Man. I'll give credit where it's due. This was Mike Tannenbaum's idea also.
Always cooking.
Here's what the you tell me if the Indianapolis Colts. Todd McShay put out a mock draft today. And in that mock draft, he has the Colts trading up one spot from 4 to 3 to take Anthony Richardson, the quarterback from Florida. Now, let me present something else they could do. Rather than trading whatever it is they would have to trade to move up from 4 to 3, they stay at 4. They take Will Anderson, who was the best defensive player in this draft, frankly, in many people's opinion, the best player in this draft, period.
Wow.
And then they go out and they get Lamar Jackson. You trade the following year's number 1 and a bunch of other stuff, whatever it is that it takes, and you get Lamar Jackson. If you come out of draft weekend with in the reverse order, with Lamar Jackson and Will Anderson, no team in history will have accomplished more in a 2-day span than you will have. You will transform your franchise instantly. The truth is, this is a team that has been trying to bring in a veteran quarterback for years. They just keep bringing in ones who are on the other side of 30. Frankly, on the other side of 35. Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan and who else?
Carson Wentz. We get it. We don't have
a whole other disaster. So why not go out and get yourself Lamar Jackson and draft the best defensive player you've got? And you might be able to turn. Look, Lamar Jackson, the new coach is Shane Steichen, and you guys don't need me to tell you that he was at least partially the architect of an offense that incorporated the skill set of Jalen Hurts so well that Hurts went from being a question mark to being right now probably the best quarterback in the NFC. And so it would make total sense to take a player with a relatively similar skill set and let Steichen design an offense that suits him. So that made a lot of sense.
It makes too much sense, Greeny. It makes too much sense. Well, why isn't it happening, though? Like, everybody's saying this. Darius Butler was on in the first hour. Pac-Man's obviously said this. I think I've said this. I think everybody has said this. Is it all because the agent thing? And is this is this a punishment type situation with Lamar because he's not going about it in the
modus operandi?
Modus operandi? Is that why this is all kind of...
No, I don't think it's any of that. I think that the owner of the team that you love more than any other said it out loud. He said the quiet part out loud.
He did.
Jim Irsay said, I don't believe in guaranteed contracts in the NFL. The NFL owners don't want a league in which the players have their contracts guaranteed because there, but for the grace of God, goes Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving waking up in a bad mood one day, and all of a sudden the Brooklyn Nets going from being a championship contender to being a laughingstock and irrelevant in the blink of an eye. I am fully in favor of guaranteed contracts. I can't believe that we have a system in which you and I are going to make an agreement in which I am totally bound by the conditions and you can change your mind anytime you want. That doesn't make any sense to me, but it has been the business model of the NFL for 100 years. And if I were the guys who own the league, I wouldn't want that to change either. So the only thing more important to these guys than winning is making sure that they maintain the status quo of that. If Lamar Jackson dropped his demand or whatever term we're going to use for it to have a guaranteed contract that exceeds that of Deshaun Watson, I think he would have suitors knocking down his door. It only stands to reason that he would. He's infinitely better than the quarterbacks on almost every other team in the NFL. But these guys, and you know them, Pat, you guys, look, all of you guys played, Pat and AJ and Pac-Man, you guys know how important, what things are important to them. And I think this is something that's very important to them. And I am firmly of the opinion that's why it hasn't happened.
I think so, too. And I'll be excited to get a full, clearer picture. I mean, Fowler, I think, reported that Lamar Jackson
is not seeking
fully guaranteed, but more than what Deshaun got or something. That was the most information we had gotten out of what potential Lamar is actually looking for, because the only time we've seen him reference how much money he wants is when Schefter came out and reported it was 133 with a
injury clause up to
potential, or no, virtually guarantee of this. He quote tweeted and said, I'm supposed to have an agent, but it's only $133 million. That's like the only time we ever really heard what he's looking for until Fowler said that. So I was worried that it was, a little miscommunication, and hopefully, after the draft, if the Colts end up with nobody, they'll go for it. But if they go beforehand, and then we have Lamar.
Do you want them to take Anthony Richardson?
So I want them to have Lamar Jackson. I have said this. What you just said scratches me right where I itch. So, what Tannenbaum said there, and he said some alarming shit on your show, Tannenbaum. Man. He has said,
Yes, he has.
yes, he has.
I almost killed him today. I literally almost killed Mike Tannenbaum. I'm not sure if any of you saw this or if you've seen it on Twitter, but he suggested that the Jets, with their first-round pick this year, because Rodgers is a short-term proposition, that the Jets should draft a quarterback at number 14, to which I said, oh, sure. Why shouldn't a team that's acquiring Aaron Rodgers draft a quarterback in the first round? What could go wrong? He's certainly given us no indication that will piss him off beyond words. So, I mean, that was, of all the things anyone has ever said on my show, and we've had some really dumb things said on my show, I've said most of them. That was the dumbest. Okay. That was the worst thing anyone has ever said in the history of Get Up.
Listen, Tannenbaum, though, will step right the fuck back in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he will. And I think that's a good thing about him. And his resume obviously says that his opinions and takes make sense and should make sense. Mm-hmm. Some things he says, we go, God, that guy was a GM. He's saying that. There has to be a reason he's saying that. And then there's some stuff he says we're like, man, they're hiring the wrong people to be GMs. So I'm happy that you guys are thinking the same thing we are.